Hello everyone, I'm Jerry Tabatt with another edition of our military community. Got another good informational one for you today that deals with the veterans here at Gulf Coast State College. Now they've been awarded just several things that really showcase how Gulf Coast State College takes care of our veterans, and a lot of it has to do with financial aid, business opportunities. Today we're going to talk about something that's right here on the campus of Gulf Coast State College, the Veterans Business Outreach Center. And joining me this morning to talk about it is Mr. Brenton Peacock, who is director of the Florida Veterans Veterans Business Outreach Center. Brent, thanks for coming in today. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
A lot of people don't even know you're here right on the campus.
A lot don't, yeah.
Well, let's get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what are you doing?
Okay. Well, I'm a former business owner. My dad was in the Army prior to Vietnam, and I have degrees in business. And this was a good opportunity. As it turns out, a lot of people don't know, but Gulf Coast State College was the first VBOC in the country.
Right.
At that time, we were part of University of West Florida and a sub-grantee. But in 2013, when I became the director, I rewrote the grant to be the outright director of the VBOC. When I started, there were 4. There was us in Florida, there was New York, California, and Texas. Now there's 31.
And you get to lead the way.
Yeah, so we're still covering all 67 counties of Florida. And our principal mission is to help transitioning or separating military members and their spouses to start businesses.
Yeah. We got a graphic on that. We got a little 4-panel graphic here. I want to show the people, and they can look at that. Brent, you can talk just briefly about it. Now, we'll expand on that, of course, but you are the Veterans Business Outreach Center, and this is very, very important for business people here, especially our veterans, because a lot of people don't realize what services are available, and there's several services that we're going to talk about today. And you always say that, well, let's look at that first. It talks about all the different things, and we'll expand on each one of those.
We help veterans or active duty military who are separating up to 180 days out with pretty much any business concept. The first thing we do is kind of help them with a feasibility analysis to see if they can identify their customers, their marketplace, and if it really is worth pursuing. And usually it is. And we help them to put together a business plan. And that's really good for military folks who understand the value and importance of planning. Whether you actually follow the plan or not, you've got some type of document, some type of research that you've done that shows your path forward.
Yeah. And you've, of course, got all the logos of the different services up there, and in the upper right-hand corner there, that's all the people that are working there. A lot of people don't realize how many individuals you have there. By the way, how many of those are veterans that are there right now?
Just one veteran spouse and one Army veteran.
Okay. And then the one in the lower right, we're going to expand on that a little bit later, where you talk about Boots to Business and Boots to Business Reboot. So we'll talk about those later. But let's go ahead and jump into this a little bit. First of all, no matter who I talk to associated with veterans here at the college, they say it's such an honor and such a privilege to serve the veterans and give them the skills they need for different successes, be it in life, in business, or whatever. Why is that so, Brent?
I think this whole area, the whole panhandle, is very veteran friendly with the proliferation of military bases up and down the coast. We teach the Boots to Business class that we're going to talk about later at all the military bases in Florida, but there's such a concentration of active duty military members and separated or retired veterans like yourself who decided to stay right here in the Northwest Florida. So that's part of it too, and being a military friendly host, Gulf Coast State College really prioritizes helping veterans to find their way.
Yeah, and one thing too, Brent, before we talk about eligibility and things like that, a lot of veterans, they get out of the service, they sit back and say, well, okay, I'm done. They don't really know what's going for them. And you've got this brand new building all set up and everything right here in the college. There are so many skills out there that these veterans have that they don't even realize that can transfer into a civilian job.
You're right. Our ideal veteran candidate coming out of military service will probably go to work in the sector they want to start a business in, learn the back office, learn the front office, learn how it works, and decide whether or not they want to devote the rest of their life to owning a bar and restaurant, which means you got to get there at 3 in the morning, you leave at 1 at night after you count the receipts, and it's more than just sitting around. And after you do that, then you might become a key person to decide, you know, I want to open up my own shop and do this myself. But wherever you come to us, from just out of the military or having worked for a couple of years, having completed a college degree. We've helped attorneys, arts and crafts people, restaurateurs, hair salons, I mean, any kind of business. Right. And I'm often asked here, what kind of business do veterans start?
Yeah.
Anything.
Exactly.
Anything you can think of.
Exactly, because they have the communication skills when they come out. They have the managerial skills, a lot of them have that. And they have the ability to go out and bring people together and talk to them. And they don't realize how they can bring all of this together.
You're right.
And one of the big things, too, is they say, okay, I want to go talk to Brent over there, but I don't know if I'm eligible, and what's it going to cost me to go and talk to him? Who's eligible and what does it cost?
The good news is every veteran who's separated with an honorable discharge is eligible, and everybody who's a veteran in Florida is eligible, and there's no cost. The way I like to put it is you paid for it twice, once with your military service, second with your taxes. So everything we offer is at no cost to you, and that's a real benefit because we're real good at what we do, and we want to make sure that you get no cost business advice and counseling and training to get you on your way. And the good news, if you decide that you don't want to do it after all, no harm, no foul. It's just to explore it and find out if it's a good fit for you.
And of course, you talk to a lot of businesses and you work in the community with that. I know the SBA is so helpful to you. What kind of developmental services do you need other than the ones we talk about? And how is this all taken care of? I mean, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to Gulf Coast, but there's other things. You may have to go downtown for training and things like that, but the Veterans Benefits should take care of that.
Yeah, it does. If you have to get a college degree, let's say you want to be a dentist, well, you have to have your DDS first. So you might want to pursue, following up on your education benefits, getting your degree in dentistry. Then we can help you to start a business. One thing they don't teach you in dentist school is how to run a business. They teach you how to do endodontics, operations, all the things that you do as a dentist, but not the operational side. And that's where we come in. And we've actually worked with professionals, dentists, lawyers, doctors in the state of Florida, who maybe have separated as a doctor in the military, but don't know how to run a private practice. And that's kind of what we help with.
And that's what's so good about it. Now, the thing is, too, is they don't want to you don't want the veterans to come in stone cold and say, okay, I retired from the military, I want to start my own business, what do I do? First of all, you need to know what kind of qualifications. So you need their military records. You need that DD Form 214. So what other kind of things would you like them to bring to that initial office visit so that you can determine what avenue you really should go with that person?
The first thing I ask is, after I find out what kind of business they want to do, I assess their readiness. Have you done this before? Do you know anything about this? Then how ready are you to start generating cash flow? Do you have the equipment, the supplies necessary to move forward, or are you going to need debt or equity financing? Just to kind of get a good starting point. And wherever they are, we start from there. And every counseling session is going to be unique to that individual, because some people have been running what I call mow and blow, like a yard care service for years and years, but they haven't formed a sole proprietorship or an LLC or anything like that. They haven't got insurance, and they've just been kind of doing it, and they've realized, I can make money at this. I want to be official. And one thing about it that's free is you can call your business veteran-owned if that veteran is the owner and controller and operator of at least 51% or more of the business. You do it yourself. That's based on your DD-214 and whose name is on the ownership record. So a veteran can be veteran-owned, and I think that's a big deal here in the Panhandle. People want to do business with veterans. Other veterans want to buy and sell and do business with veterans. So that's a freebie.
And one of the other things, too, you talked about whether or not this startup idea is a good one. You have to have some kind of a business plan.
Yeah.
And let's face it, a lot of people have military skills, but they don't really have the technical knowledge how to sit down and actually write a plan. Do you help with something like that?
We do. We use a thing called the business model canvas that kind of lays everything out like a schematic, where you can see all parts of the business moving at one time in one place. And that kind of feeds into your customers, your cash flow, how you reach your customers, how you reach your suppliers and other parts of the business that you need to buy from or sell to, and then the foundation of cost and the foundation of generating revenue. So that way it's laid out in such a way that's familiar to them, and you can put it all together and then it becomes what I call lender ready after
Yeah.
a short time.
And by the way, what we're talking about now is the section you call your boots to business.
Yes, the boots to business.
Boots
Yeah.
to business. Now, you talked a little bit about taxes and responsibilities, financial responsibilities, and that. Where can they find different funding sources? Let's say I go into you and say, Brent, I want to start my own, little dry goods store. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of savings because of all the time I spent in the service.
Right.
Where am I going to get some funding? Can you help me with that?
We can. After we finish up the business plan, we determine how much money you need, and the business plan will inform you of that. Let's say that all you need is like 50 grand. A lot of people are surprised how much you can do with $50,000. Upon the onset, oh, I need $100,000, but when you really get down to it,
Yeah.
$35,000 is all you really need.
Right.
The SBA has different loan products. The good thing about the SBA is the loan is guaranteed to the bank,
Right.
kind of like a VA home loan. It's not guaranteed to the veteran, it's guaranteed to the mortgage lender. So the SBA guarantees a loan to the SBA lender. And there are loans for amounts under $50,000, working capital, and to buy equipment, property, buildings, land, machinery, factories, up to $5.5 million. So there are loan programs that require a business plan and all the other things that bankers need, like the 5 C's of credit and some equity cash and that kind
Sure.
of thing.
Well, most people, when they get out of the military, they've got good credit anyway.
Yes.
But you brought up an interesting point. You say, okay, it was $35,000, but I need this. I want this. A lot of people have trouble differentiating between actual needs and wants.
Right.
Now, like if you go to buy a brand new car and it costs you $50,000, you need $50,000. You don't need $125,000.
Right.
You may want that. So how do you break it down for the individuals and say, okay, I understand that you figure you need more money, but this is the basics that you need. How do you get people to understand that?
We talk about readiness and how quick they can get to cash flow. So I'll say, okay, so you've got a mow and blow. You've been operating, you've got a mower you bought in 2004, you've got a new leaf blower, you've got an edger, you've got a wagon. Do you really need a new lawnmower? Do you really have to have that?
Right.
Your customers don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you go in and increase your equipment, you're going to increase your price because that has to be paid for somehow. So we talk about, how you can operate as a lean business model with making do with what you have.
Sure.
And starting lean and offering your product or service at a competitive price based on the revenue that you generate and how much it's going to cost you. And I really focus a lot on price and cost. What's it going to cost you to run this business? And your price is what you charge the customer.
Yes.
So those are two different things. So if you can operate with low cost and generate revenue at a fair price, then you don't really need to spend a lot of money. And just understanding how to do it on a budget.
Yeah, because you start out and how your business grows, that determines the money that comes in. But one other thing, when you're talking about that, how do you really determine what some of the marketing strategies are? Let's say I want to start a lawn care business.
Yeah.
There's so many of them in the area right now, Brett. How do we determine a different marketing strategy? And I know you guys help with that, but do you have other outside people come in, like Small Business Administration and that? Do they help you with things like that?
They do. They do in the way they provide us with really unique program called IBIS World. They do reports for any industry, and they can even do it down to Florida, even countywide. They show you everybody who's in that industry, what they're doing, how much revenue they're generating, who their customer base is, to give you some comparables for benchmarking, or you can use it in your business plan. And because the Office of Veteran Business Development, who I report to, pays for that, there's no cost to use it. And we also have Live Plan, which is developed by Palo Alto Software, where you can actually start a business plan. I can go in there and edit it, and I've just added our AI feature just this week. So that way you can say, I want to do a business plan about, we'll stick to our lawn care, and it can kind of give you a boilerplate. Then you go in and kind of rewrite it just to kind of get you started. Because I can spot those AI generated ones a mile away, and every banker can too. But it kind of gives you a start. I mean, AI is here. We can't ignore it.
Exactly.
And we might as well leverage it to our best ability. So you can actually start to write something and then go in and add your own research that you do during your business plan and make it real. That way you can see, is this going to work or not? And what is my secret sauce? What do I do that nobody else is doing in the Bay County lawn care market? Am I going to clean up? Am I going to do after hours? Am I going to work on Saturdays? Fertilize? What am I going to do that's different? How can I be a market leader? So we help them to look at themselves. What can you do that's going to be different from all these other competitors based on this IBIS World study that I've given you? And how can you be top of market? So that's kind of how we do that.
One other thing too, that you have to make them realize that when a veteran goes to you and you get all this paperwork together and everything, you say, okay, yeah, it looks good, marketing strategies are good, we've got the funding and everything here, but you have to instill upon them that you're not going to start your business today, and tomorrow you're going to start making money.
Right.
How do you, because what is it, 2 years, they say if you break even in 2 years, you're lucky?
Yeah, you're doing good. So many businesses go out of business because they don't understand price and cost. If we can help them to lower their price to justify, getting started early, we can help them to kind of move that break-even point closer, because all that time during the break-even, money is coming out of your pocket. And if you run out of money before the company starts to generate revenue, you got to close. And that happens so many times with everybody. So just understanding the price and cost and understanding your market and the competition is so valuable. And the good thing about military folks is they're really good at the planning.
Exactly.
There's so much planning and training before you actually go out and engage. So business is the same way. We really focus a lot on the planning stage before you launch.
There's two areas we really want to talk about. The first one we're going to talk about is Boots to Business Reboot. What is that?
Boots to Business Reboot came as a secondary program. Now, Boots to Business started back in 2013 as another way for a separating or retiring military member and their spouse to take a class on base as they separate as part of the TAP program. And then there was a need for people who have already separated, because if you separated before 2013, it wasn't there. So the reboot is performed off base. We do them here at the college. We've been doing a lot of them lately online for the whole state of Florida. After COVID, we've kind of shifted, like so many people have, to Zoom and that kind of thing. But we're doing some in Jacksonville that are going to be in person. They're one-day program that kind of skips past all the stuff about connecting your military skill set to business ownership. They've already figured that out. But it focuses on the technical side of how do I write a business plan? How do I do a marketing survey? How do I, approach lenders or other, financial opportunities? And that's done off of base. So the big difference is the curriculum's the same, but the Boots to Business is done on base as part of TAP, and the reboot is done on base. Like at the public library, anywhere we can get about, because we realize also that when you separate, you're probably either working or going to college. So to ask somebody to take off 2 days to do a class, that's a little onerous. So we've kind of slimmed it down to a one-day class.
And see, and the thing is, and a lot of this information that you're giving us today, Brent, I personally, being retired Air Force, I know veterans it doesn't make any difference what branch of service, but they always have a tendency to listen to what their buddy tells them. Well, sometimes your buddy may be right, but a lot of times your buddy may only be on the tip of the iceberg. So that's the importance for these veterans to come in and actually in person talk to you.
The thing about Boost to Business and Reboot that we see so often is a lot of the people in there are retired officers with maybe a PhD in economics. And they know a lot of this stuff. They just want to make sure that they're right. And a lot of people who don't have a background in this, we work with some veterans who've never even had a job before. So it's not that it can't be done, it's just the learning curve is a little steeper. So the curriculum written by Syracuse University's Institute for Veteran and Military Families is the same at all bases, at every base, CONUS and OCONUS, so that way everybody, if you separate out of a base in Texas or New York at Drum or wherever, you're getting the same class. Because we know that a lot of folks who are at maybe, let's say, Tyndall or Eglin or Hurlburt are going to go back home to Tennessee or Kentucky or California. So then we transfer their case out there to the VBOC office there, but they've had the same training. So that way it's uniform. We get the same stuff. We do teach the Florida stuff on how to start a business. It's done through the state of Florida Department of Corporations. Maybe at Texas it's done through the Secretary of State, but we don't mess with that. And we teach the Florida stuff. That way when they transfer and go back home, they're picked up by the VBOC in their state.
And that's what's good about it. If they don't come in and talk to you, and again, I can't emphasize enough, that service is available right here on the campus at Gulf Coast State College. they don't really know what they're eligible for, or whether or
Right.
not this is possible. They don't know what it's going to pay for, so they must come in person and talk to you about it.
The first thing we have to do is there's a form through the SBA. It's called our non-disclosure privacy statement. Basically, you sign up online and it says, we're not going to sell you anything, we're not going to charge you, we're not going to share or sell your information, and we're not going to refer you to somebody who we get a kickback from. And what it does for us is it lets us talk with you about your credit score, available cash in a bank account, with no fear that it's going to get out anywhere. So that way you get that trust bond built.
And that's one of the good things. Now, we talked a lot about taking care of the veterans. But you have a program over there that I didn't realize until I did a little research on. You have what they call Military Spouse Pathway to Business. So you don't forget about the spouse.
No, the spouse are important. You know, Jerry, I want to tell you a funny little story. I was teaching a Boost to Business class over at Whiting Field, and they usually have a small class. There were 4 or 5 people signed up, so I was in there. And Eugene, the TAPS manager, said, we had a guy that signed up and he didn't come. So I called him and said, where are you? He said, my wife won't let me come. So we got a good laugh at that, but when you think about it, when you start a business, that becomes a family decision.
Right.
So if you don't include the spouses and you think that you're going to open up a motorcycle repair shop in your garage and you've been dragging him or her all over the country for 25 years and you thought maybe you were going to get an RV and see the country, there needs to be a discussion about that.
That's the important thing. When you bring these military spouses in there, you have to put them with the actual veteran, because if they don't understand this pathway they have to go to, then it's probably not going to work, because you can't have the husband doing the business and the wife saying, well, I don't think you can do it, so what do we do? So you kind of get them working together. Now, is there things that you can actually teach this military spouse also to get the two of them thinking on the same page?
Well, not only that, but we can also support the military spouse independent of the veteran. Unlike the VA where you have to have a sponsor, the spouse can have a business doing his or her own thing. We work with lots of successful spouses. We just worked with one last week who bought a property with a hair salon on it, and they decided to renovate it and open it up as a hair salon. They came to our Boost to Business class, and they said, you know, we wanted to come because we didn't know what to do with this property that was in the back of our house here, and now we have an understanding of what we want to do. They had a grand opening last Sunday, and I went, and it was really good.
Yeah.
They're still kind of deciding on what path to go, but sometimes the spouse wants to do something on their own.
Right.
So we support that as well. The Pathways program is the same type of curriculum. We've taught it on base at both at Tyndall and at Eglin before, and spouses can be both, you know, men and women, and it's really good to see them come together and talk about their ideas, and we give them the same courtesy and counseling we do the actual veteran. So it's both of them.
Yeah, and it makes them feel like they are part of this. They're a part of this. The veterans and the spouse, they work together. Now, we've got a couple of topics I want to talk about here. The first one is you do have consulting services that you provide.
Right.
And you do one-on-one communications. What kind of qualifications are needed for this? Because you need experts in the field.
Yeah, we've got a real good team. If you ask my boss up in DC, he'll say VBOCs are one office with 31 locations. So we all do the same thing, but everybody's economic climate is different. Say in Florida, we're service-based with tourism and ag. Up in the north, we got crops, we got cows, chickens, whatnot, and tourism. Down in the south part of Florida, we got tourism and we got horses and citrus. So tourism and ag are two of the big economic drivers here in Florida. Whereas somewhere like the Midwest, where they have a lot of manufacturing, we don't really have that here. Right. So I put together a team of former business owners, people who are very adept at understanding business plans, government contracting. Keith Roberts is a former Army captain who's owned small businesses, who worked with the Florida Chamber of Commerce, who's done proposal writing as a government contractor. Lisa Haggerty, who's our specialist in government contracting, works for us out of Jacksonville. Oh. She's a military spouse who really understands how to navigate through to bid on government contracts. We've got Jim Paul, who's a retired SBA lender who works for us. So Keith and I will look at the business plan, make sure that it's lender ready, and then we'll send it over to Jim, and Jim will help them to find a bank. And we've got Rachel Switzer, who coordinates all of our Boots to Business reboots. She's a former business owner and local person here, so we've got a really good team.
So people go in there, they don't have to worry. There's experts there. And also, there's a there's a chance you can get a government contract.
Yes, there is.
And you just have to work on that. Before we run out of time here, I know you've got a lot of success stories, but just highlight some of the local stories you have that success stories that visited the VBOC, got started, and now we have good success stories with them.
We do. The one I was talking about, Cedar Grove Beauty and Salon, is Haley and her husband Chris. Just opened up last week. Arce Labs is a locally owned company. Randy Shepard is the owner, Air Force veteran, retired like yourself. They actually build components to do tracking of any type of deliverable anywhere. And they won some government contracts. We helped them, especially during COVID when they had to, kind of figure out how to pivot. We helped them to get some COVID money. Head and Heart, a officer out of Eglin, started a craft business. And she makes beautiful things, plaques, artwork. We helped her basically to form her legal entity, to kind of find, her audience and that kind of thing. So it's all kinds of things. Harmony Vending, Raul Morales has a vending company up at Laurel Hill near Whiting and some of those areas. And during COVID, he found out that he was actually a necessary business because you could get food without having to go with anybody. So it was kind of funny. We helped him to also get some COVID money. We got Cookie Disposal. If you've ever been around Callaway and seen the truck with the frog on it, that's David Atano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one of ours that we work with. And he's got contracts with lots of people, including Tyndall. Does large trash roll-off, and we still work with David from time to time, but he's won lots of contracts.
Wow.
We've got...
that's amazing, that these kind of things. Now, let me ask you a question. These businesses you talked about, are they willing to sit down and talk with individuals that are working with you to say, okay, this is what they did for me, this is how I incorporated it, and here's some advice I can give you? Are they willing to do that?
They are. They certainly are. And a lot of them, like most veterans, they want to give back and help out. Exactly. And maybe give a hand up to somebody who's starting, Maybe somebody who's doing something similar might want to talk with one of them and get some good advice. Because that's part of the whole veteran experience, is that networking, that ability to support each other. And
I've always said that you can have a group of people here, and you can go into that group of people, and us retired veterans or even active duty, within 5 minutes we can tell you what individuals are associated with the military, because we kind of get those same vibes, and that's what happens with this business here. We're about to run out of time here, Brent, but what's some final thoughts you have now? We've put out a lot of information today, but come and visit.
Yeah, we ask you to go to our website, victorbravooscarcharlie.org, do the online registration, and then we'll contact you by email and ask you for a little more information about, that's where those documents, the hold harmless privacy non-disclosure statements held. So that way you'll know that we aren't going to charge you or share your information. And most any type of business that you want to do, we can help you get started. If you decide you don't want to pursue it, it's okay. You don't sign a red line that you have to work with us. And one good thing is I've worked with people, Jerry, for 17 years. That I've worked with since I started doing this, that I'm still working with. So we only go away when you tell us that you don't want to do this anymore. Right. But we're going to keep helping you.
You don't pressure them into doing this. And I imagine it's like these businesses here, when you're talking about it, I could see the smile on your face. You're proud of what you're doing over there.
We really are. It's so good to help somebody to see their, so many veterans that we work with said, just 6 months ago, I was talking with you on the phone about doing this. Right. And yesterday, I formed my LLC. I've got my third client coming in for consultation. I'm actually starting to make money. I can't believe we've gotten here. And I said, well, you did it. I just provided the technical assistance and support. So it really is. It's the best job I've ever had.
It's a great program. And what's really great about it, it's right here on the campus of Gulf Coast State College. You've got to go over and see it. Brent, thanks for coming in today. I really appreciate it, my friend.
Thank you, Jerry.
Continued success, and keep doing what you're doing, all right? Unfortunately, we're out of time, folks. That'll do it for this edition of our military community. Again, I can't emphasize enough, Gulf Coast State College has so much to offer, not only just sound advice, but financial help. All you've got to do is come and talk to the different people here, and they will be more than happy to take care of you. And what Brent and I were just talking about, what a great way to go see somebody and to get your own business started. Be your own boss, both you and your spouse. That'll do it for this edition of our military community. I'm Jerry Tabatt. Have a great day, everyone.